Out in old California, so the story is told, Diego finds his destiny shining brighter than gold. The whisper of his name stirs hope in the hearts of the poor. And on this episode of Ruined Childhoods, we discuss the mark, the mask, the legend, the fate of Zorro.
Sequel. Reboot. Which one will it be? It's the Ruined Childhoods podcast.
Greetings, Starfighters.
We begin this episode the way we ended the last one with the Z.
Yes.
The sword swipe of a Z.
The Mark of Zorro, the intro to the podcast.
Hey, everybody. This is Ruined Childhoods. We're talking movies of the cult and classic variety. On this episode, we are talking about the Zorroverse.
Yes.
It's such a complicated one. We did this way because we recorded our last one shortly after the previous episode. I don't even remember what we did last. Was that Death Becomes Her? Death Becomes Her. We recorded pretty much right after Tango and Cash, so we had a bit of extra time. So it's like, what could we do where we might need some extra time? And Zorro was the answer.
Yeah. Before we jump into Zorro, John, I did want to add, I had kind of an afterthought on Death Becomes Her. Mm-hmm. And it kind of has to do with just some of the themes of the, the mysterious, like Isabella Rossellini's character, the mysterious woman who offers eternal life, but for a price. And I had thought of this, and then it just didn't come up. But thematically, it occurred to me how many similarities there are in Death Becomes Her and the music. I'm gonna put a plug in here for one of my favorite bands, Lord Huron, who's a lot of their music. So if you are not familiar with Lord Huron, I recommend checking them out. They're streaming anywhere. And a lot of
they've got like a chill vibe. They're very like, I don't know, not like Jack Johnson chill, but like, I don't know, shoegazy is kind of the genre that they fit into.
It's kind of this weird, it really depends.
Ethereal rock.
Ethereal rock is a good way to put it. They're very, it's almost like 50s, 60s influence. Like there's a lot of that. Not necessarily. There's that like surf rock influence, but there's also this like they've got
a lot of reverb.
When their music has a very like there's a David Lynch vibe to a lot of the storytelling. They do their songs. They tell these interweaving stories, and a lot of the lore in their music has to do with a woman who doesn't age, and she's kind of this mythical, and it very much reminded me of Isabella Rossellini's character. Yeah. And it's almost like it's not really like there's not that close of a connection, but I feel like they could take place in the same universe.
Huh. Okay. I had another thing that I was actually thinking about with Death Becomes Her, but first I wanted to talk about something that I saw in the news. Dan, I didn't even realize that this was happening, but did you know they're remaking Father of the Bride? Again, I guess you should say.
No.
But do you know who is the, main character, the Steve Martin-y, the family patriarch, who the titular father of the bride is in this one?
I have this is the first I'm hearing of this. So what should I guess? Is it Gary Oldman? That's the one. I feel like that's the one.
It's not Gary Oldman.
I would love to see that.
You're going to like this though. It's Andy Garcia. See, the look on your face. Yeah, I like it.
Wow.
I like
it. Okay. Yeah. Well, I rewatched Godfather 3 recently. I watched Godfather 3 Coda. or just the Godfather coda.
Andy Garcia does show up in a newly released movie that I'm not going to mention who he is or what the movie is because I don't want to spoil an incredible joke. But he plays an amazing role, a cameo in a new movie that is out on Blu-ray and VOD.
Yes. It took me a moment, and I was trying to think of what you were talking about because it's lately like it takes. I'm on like a delay, but I was like, oh yes, I've seen this movie.
Yes.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, what I did want to mention is something that I was thinking about even when I was watching Death Becomes Her, and I'm glad that you mentioned your one more thing about it because the thing that I have to mention ties into our episode this week on Zorro. And something that really took me out of that movie, in a way, you know, from a movie viewing experience, but I did see it in a different way, which was, oh, they're having fun. But the scene where Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep are having their famous body-bending fight with each other, you know, they have these shovels, and they are fighting each other with shovels. The shovel's there because Bruce Willis and Goldie Hawn are planning to bury Meryl Streep's body. So they have these shovels. But they're like almost sword fighting with the shovels, but it's the way that like a 6-year-old sword fights, where it's like you're just kind of hitting the other person's sword or shovel, as the case may be. And I was looking at it and I was like, they're not trying to hit each other. Like this was not a choreographed shovel fight. The way that you would see these days. And it really, I thought about it even more as I was watching all of this Zorro material, because I mean, some of them are better than others, but there are some sword fights in Zorro movies that are very impressive. And clearly there's a lot of hard work being put into the choreography. And, yeah, I guess that's a good way to get into Zorro, Dan, if you're ready. But just so our listeners know, we didn't focus on one movie. There's so many. Personally, I watched the 1975 movie, which was just called Zorro, I believe. Mm-hmm. I watched the Mask of Zorro, which was from 2005.
Well, that's
that was from 98, and then Legend of
was the Mask of Zorro.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, right, with Antonio Banderas and Catherine Zeta-Jones, and recent Academy Award winner Anthony Hopkins. I mean, he has been an Academy Award winner before, but newly reminted Academy Award.
Now a two-time Best Actor winner.
Yeah.
Neither of those awards
Hopkins.
For Zorro.
No. And then The Legend of Zorro, which was 2005, which is, again, Antonio Banderas and Catherine Zeta-Jones. And I also did watch the Douglas Fairbanks version, The Mark of Zorro.
Did you watch, was that the silent
one.
version or the talkie?
I watched the silent one as much as one can possibly. I don't know. I fell asleep hardcore during it. Yeah. The score just really lulls you into a nice comfortable sleep, and the scenery and the scenes in general feel all very repetitive. Yeah. So it was just like put me to sleep.
I did something similar. I did the only one that I recently watched all the way through was the 1975 French-Italian production of Zorro. Yeah. But I watched some, I rewatched some of the Legend of Zorro and the Mask of Zorro, and I watched part of the 1920 Mark of Zorro and its sequel, Don Q, Son of Zorro, in which Douglas Fairbanks plays both father and son.
Douglas Fairbanks, what an ego.
I mean, when you're like the only movie star,
guy. Yeah.
when you're like the only, it was like him and then the silent film comedians, like that.
Right.
Was,
yeah. Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton. Yeah, you're going to be getting a lot of those. Yeah, for swashbuckling roles, it's Douglas Fairbanks. Errol Flynn, I think, started a little later. 30s, maybe.
Though I don't know that Errol Flynn ever played Zorro.
I don't think so. I don't think so. But when it came to swashbuckling, those are your guys in early cinema.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the ones that I was hoping to get to, but didn't, was the 1981 Zorro the Gay Blade.
Yeah. There's so many Zorros. And if you go to Zorro.com, you can find a wealth of Zorro information, and obviously there's plenty on the Zorro Wikipedia page. And I'm actually going to read a little bit from the Wikipedia page. Instead of doing a synopsis, I'm going to just read the description of who the character Zorro is, because I feel like that, it comes up in a lot of the movies. The Mask of Zorro and Legend of Zorro, so the most recent incarnation of film Zorro, or mainstream film Zorro. I'm sure there's some film Zorro out there.
Big screen. There have been some some TV Zorros around the world. But
those kind of take the name Zorro into a different direction. So it doesn't necessarily follow, just this character that we're going to talk about. So Zorro, which is Spanish for fox, is a fictional character created in 1919 by American pulp writer Johnston McCulley and appearing in works set in the pueblo of Los Angeles and Alta California. He is typically portrayed as a dashing masked vigilante who defends the commoners and indigenous peoples of California against corruption and tyrannical officials and other villains. His signature all-black costume includes a cape, a hat known as a sombrero, cordobes, and a mask covering the upper half of his face. In the story, Zorro has a high bounty on his head, but is too skilled and cunning for the bumbling authorities to catch, and he also delights in publicly humiliating them. Because of this, the townspeople started calling him El Zorro, due to his fox-like cunning and charm. Zorro is an acrobat and an expert in various weapons, but the one he employs most frequently is his rapier, which he often uses to carve the initial Z on his defeated foes, and other objects to sign his work. He is also an accomplished rider, his trusty steed being a black horse called Tornado, who is hilarious in at least the Antonio Banderas Zorro films. Zorro is the secret identity of Don Diego de la Vega, a young man who is the only son of Don Alejandro de la Vega, the richest landowner in California, while Diego's mother is dead. In most versions, Diego learned his swordsmanship while at university in Spain and created his masked alter ego while he was unexpectedly summoned home by his father because California had fallen into the hands of an oppressive dictator. Diego is usually shown living with his father in a huge hacienda, which contains a number of secret passages and tunnels, leading to a secret cave sometimes called the Fox Den, that serves as headquarters to Zorro's operations and as Tornado's hiding place. In order to divert suspicion about his identity, Diego hides his fighting abilities while also pretending to be a coward and a fop. I could go a little bit more into the history, but I won't. I will say, I'll add this part. Being one of the earliest examples of a fictional masked avenger with a double identity, Zorro inspired the creation of several similar characters in pulp magazines and other media, and is a precursor to the superheroes of American comic books, with Batman drawing particularly close parallels to the character, which... Hello, the Fox Den, the Batcave, being a masked vigilante with means.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much about Zorro that you can totally see the influence on Batman.
Yeah,
and it's great, with good reason. He's a great character. And but you can also, what's funny, speaking of influence, is the influence, particularly watching these, the silent version. And I mean, maybe this is just all silent films and not Zorro, but I really thought a lot about Three Amigos. But the music was Yeah, practically the same music that they used for Three Amigos. And in Three Amigos, they're wealthy landowners.
Right.
Who
That's
fight
true.
injustice. They're not masked. They don't have secret identities.
That's correct.
And so I noticed a lot of that. And the character of Wesley, particularly as the Dread Pirate Roberts in Princess Bride, and even the dueling, like a lot of the dueling in Princess Bride really looked like it was inspired by some of what we see throughout Zorro, particularly the 1975 Zorro.
Well, hey, you get some classic swashbuckling in there. That's what it's all about. It's just doing, hanging off of chandeliers and doing flips and, sword fighting. It's a lot of fun.
Well, yeah, like the whole outsmarting. Actually, this brings up kind of a question or topic that I wanted to discuss. Mm-hmm. And, I feel like we can talk about this before we actually talk about any of the movies, but like, what are the ingredients? Like, what do you need? Because some of the Zorro movies I really enjoyed, and some of them fell flat, like particularly the Legend of Zorro really kind of fell flat for me. Yeah. Because I felt like it was missing. Yeah. I felt like it was missing something, and it was basically like Zorro goes through marriage difficulties. Like, yeah,
we'll talk about that. So what was your question? What are the ingredients of...
Like, what are the quintessential ingredients of a good Zorro movie?
Government corruption.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be a big through line in a lot of the things that I've seen. There's definitely some sort of personal reason why Zorro is fighting, in addition to the government corruption. So there's usually something else that's driving it. And of course, this is based on my limited experience, and I can only say limited just because there's so much Zorro out there. I don't know, Dan, what do you think?
Well, I think so. The trick riding, the impressive trick riding.
Oh, you're talking about just like the things that make Zorro different from other vigilantes.
Well, different, or not necessarily different, but just what do you need to have, like, for Zorro movie to be good? And it's like everything that you're saying, plus, like, Zorro's gotta, like, we have to see that trick riding. We have to see that almost pompous attitude that he's never, like you were reading from Wikipedia, that the weapon he employs most frequently is his rapier. But I would argue that his rapier wit is employed equally. So, like because he duels with this humor that he's not just going to defeat his opponents, he's going to humiliate them. Right.
Absolutely.
Someone is going to get poked in the ass with a sword.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I'd say also, just to add on to that, his other main weapon is a whip. And actually, I wouldn't say weapon so much as tool. Yeah.
So, he utilizes the whip. I mean, memorably, I love how he uses the whip in the beginning of Mask of Zorro, when it's Anthony Hopkins or Anthony Hopkins' stunt double, when you've got the firing range and he whips the last rifle and pulls them all so that they shoot the whoever's giving the orders. But so I would say the horseback riding, the dueling, and there are he always has these clever tricks and traps, and you see it a lot in the Disney Zorro.
Oh, see, I didn't watch that one.
The Guy Hamilton. So the film that's streaming, Disney Plus is not yet streaming the series, but the film is just like 8 episodes of the series kind of strung together. So, I mean, very kind of obviously you can tell when the episodes end and begin, but it's like when, you know, the colonel or whoever, Sergeant Garcia, is going to set a trap for Zorro, and Zorro finds out about it because he's really Don Diego and he hears everyone talking about this stuff. And he's like, okay, well, they're going to set a trap for me, but I will turn their trap for me into a trap for them.
Yes. I will also say, I think that another element to a Zorro movie is having to appear to be in two places at the same time, as your alter ego, you know, like as your true self and the alter ego, whichever one you would say is the true self and which one is the alter ego, much like Bruce Wayne and Batman. And then murdering people in a way that's humiliating for them is definitely a big one. He kills a lot of people.
He does, though not in the 1975 one.
In the 1975 one, it's mostly just humiliation beyond belief. Right. And the other ones, people like blow up and stuff.
Well, they said, it's a plot device in the 1975 Zorro that he's made a vow. And and this is something that I appreciate about these Zorro movies, is they all put their own little twist on it. And so he makes a vow to his friend that he's not going to kill anybody.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna, and this is
like
not
Terminator 2.
This is not pre-written. I'm just gonna kind of spit out what the gist of the 1975 version is. Which, by the way, I had such a good time watching. That movie was bananas, and I would watch it again in a heartbeat. It was so much fun. So essentially what happens is Don Diego is buddies with this guy who's about to become governor of this village. I don't know exactly how you would...
Well, this is in South America.
Oh, this is in South America. This is not a California one.
No, it's in South America. I forget, like, it kind of starts with this family coming over from Spain, and it's Diego's friend. Yeah, it's Miguel.
Diego's friend. I can't remember because he dies so quickly. But basically what happens is there is this bad guy. I can't remember his name, but he essentially is the head of the local, like, military or police or whatever you want to call it, where this guy is supposed to be taking his position as governor, and he wants to be the governor. So he has people sent to kill this guy. And that happens to be when his buddy Don Diego is there. And Don Diego is just this, you know, all we know about him is that he's the best sword fighter that the governor's ever seen before, and, you know, whatever. So these henchmen come to kill the governor. And in his dying breaths, he says to Don Diego, he's like, you have to go, you have to be me, but you have to, like, be all the good things that I was going to bring to this place. No killing people, like, you know, just be on your best behavior. And just as a way of saying, like, this guy cannot win. So he goes and he becomes his old friend. He's not there as Don Diego. He's there as this governor. And, you know, he's living in the governor's mansion, and it's there. He has this right-hand man who he inherited from the governor, who is mute. And I thought that maybe he could have been just like a weird, like, physical comedian of the time, but such is not the case. That's just the way that they chose that character to be, because he was funny. Yeah. He was a lot of fun. Yeah. Didn't need to be mute, but he was.
No, and it made, well, and I guess it made sense because this is the one person who knows all of, like, Zorro's secrets.
Yeah, and he's
the governor, Alfred.
He's the Alfred. And the governor's mansion happens to have, like, a secret trick door that leads him into. It's very bizarre, but in addition to all of that, as far as we know, you know, we don't know about Zorro. Don Diego doesn't know about Zorro until he goes to, like, the town square, and there's this kind of, like, you know, there's shenanigans going down, and there's this kid whose name was Chico, maybe, who he sees draw a Z all over the place, and he makes the kid tell him what the Z's all about. And he's like, oh, it's, the legend of Zorro. And I heard about this Zorro. And basically what he does is he disappears. And then a second later, he's wearing the black and all the Zorro stuff. And
he's coming from like the horizon. And next thing you know, he's standing on a building.
Look, it doesn't make sense, but I don't care because this movie's fun as hell.
It's awesome. And it's basically a spaghetti Western.
Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah. And just to add, and I'm sorry if you'd mentioned this, but so Miguel, who was supposed to go be the governor, was taking over for his uncle. His uncle was the governor, and his uncle,
right.
they say he died of malaria, but it was like definitely shady circumstances. And but this also sets up this great little subplot about the aunt, like Miguel's aunt,
the eccentric aunt who, what is her deal? She's crazy.
She's just like, I don't really care what happens. I'm just ready to get out of here. And then like she's leaving, and the captain who was like sworn to protect her, like fights off all these he thinks he fights off all these bandits. Yeah. But Zorro's really the one who's doing it.
Right. and Don Diego falls in love with her daughter. So no.
It's not her daughter. Don Diego falls in love with the daughter of... Oh, wait, maybe is it her daughter?
Because he sees the painting in the mansion or whatever, and he's like, oh, who is this? And she's like, that's your cousin. So maybe it's her niece.
No, you know who he falls for? So it's she's the daughter of this other aristocratic family she's very much like, power, speaking out for the people.
Yeah, but the aunt says, and thinking that Don Diego is her nephew, says that's your cousin.
Right.
When he sees this painting, so
but different person.
Oh, really? I thought that he was commenting. I thought that the painting was of her. Oh.
No, because they have her like she. Remember, like they.
What's the point of pointing at?
They imprison. They imprison her parents, or like her father, and it's Colonel Huerta is the evil right. Colonel. I couldn't remember. I was like, I thought I remembered that, but also I've watched a lot of Zorro in a short period of time, so I'm like, is that the character from which Antonio Banderas?
El Guapo.
Guapo, F.A. And I love another amazing thing about the 1975 Zorro is not only that they keep the character of the bumbling, heavy Sergeant Garcia, was invented for the Disney series. Yeah, but the guy who plays him, his name is Mustache.
His name is Mustache.
Yeah, and it's a character. So the character was actually created for
interesting.
The Disney series. Yeah, he's not in any of
that makes sense for there to be a giant bumbling bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically, if we're going to keep the Three Amigos comparisons, he's like the bartender from Three Amigos. Imagine, like, that would have been the right guy to play Sergeant Garcia had they made Zorro at that in the mid-'80s. But yeah, and the Disney series was huge, and they put so much money into making that. And I feel like I remember having the like action figures, and the Disney series was like from the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
But I think like when Disney Channel started, and that was like what they had, that was their programming.
Yeah.
It was like, reruns of the Mickey Mouse Club and Zorro.
Right.
And Davy Crockett was on. I think like they started selling the toys because I feel like the reruns were so popular.
Yeah, it worked.
But I remember having like Tornado and Zorro.
That sounds familiar. Yeah. So the 1975 Zorro is absolutely wild. I wish I really should, and I have no excuse to not have watched the Disney, any of the Disney stuff. I'm sure it would have felt very familiar because I'm sure that I watched it when I was a kid at some point. there was that. There was the Lone Ranger. Definitely similar vibes. So
similar masks,
horses, you name it.
Though I don't know that Zorro has ever been played by an
actual cannibal.
Alleged cannibal. Yeah. Army Hammer.
Yeah. So anyway, I do want to talk about the Antonio Banderas series. You mentioned The Legend of Zorro, and we'll get to that, but I want to talk about The Mask of Zorro because this one kind of bends the story and brings it into a different generation. Because as you mentioned, Anthony Hopkins is the Don Diego that we all know and love, but even in 1998, he was old. He's been old for a very long time. So, not in Zorro fighting shape. So,
well, also it's Anthony Hopkins. So all due respect to Sir Anthony Hopkins, but I don't know that he was ever in Zorro fighting shape. I mean, if you go back and watch The Elephant Man, you're not going to be like, oh, that guy should play Zorro.
Yeah, it was a weird choice, I think, to have him there. And I think it was, I wonder how that all went down. It just seems like such an odd choice to have him as Don Diego, but I digress. I mean, he's a Welshman.
Which is crazy because Catherine Zeta-Jones is Welsh.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Was that the reason they needed a Welshman as her father?
I don't know. Although it's like for her, you don't think about it as much, but I think that what this movie and what so many movies suffer from is that when something takes place before, I don't know, the 1900s, everybody kind of by default just has like an English accent. And then it's like, if you can do something more accurate, great. But if not, your default is English no matter what.
He does a little bit.
He gives it a little
Sir
zest.
Anthony.
He gives a little zest.
Yeah. Well, I think he kind of gives it the and Catherine Zeta-Jones fittingly gives it the full Z.
She does. I mean, I think that this was like her first like major movie. Yeah, she was definitely in a bunch of stuff before, but like this is like her first big one, and she's great in it. I thought that she was fantastic. Mm-hmm. So this one, Antonio Banderas' character, I think his name is like Alejandro. And as a kid, he and his brother were admirers of Zorro, and they witnessed the whole thing where Zorro does the whip thing and makes the executioners shoot something else, whatever. What's up?
Oh, so I was gonna say. Did you say Alejandro or Joaquin? Oh, Alejandro.
Alejandro. Yeah.
Yeah. The brother is Joaquin.
Yeah, so as they grow older, Alejandro and Joaquin are like, drunken tricksters. They're like grifters, pretty much.
Yeah, with this other dude.
Yeah, no, it's very much like the Good and the Bad and the Ugly. The way that they kind of, I don't know.
They use the price on a criminal's head, on an outlaw's head. Yeah,
so they're, just traveling grifters, they're alcoholics, they're just giant messes. And then Joaquin gets killed, and Alejandro is just like a complete mess. And
sorry, if I may, while we're there, Joaquin, I was trying to remember why the name Joaquin stuck out. So I was like double checking, and Joaquin Murrieta was a real life bandit, and that's who they're saying. That's like, I think there's two real life people that they say like were the inspirations for Zorro.
Okay.
And Joaquin Murrieta was one of them. And apparently this the other guy's name is Three Fingered Jack,
right? And
he was also a real life bandits in Northern California at the time of the 1849 gold rush, which is when and
where this is taking place. Yeah, so Alejandro is just kind of like a mess because his brother's dead, and his brother was given by Zorro as a child this like medallion. And so it's kind of all he had left. And at this point, what had happened with Zorro is that he had a wife named, was it Elena, or is that the daughter?
No, Elena was the daughter. It was Esperanza.
So Esperanza was his wife, and their daughter Elena was like a newborn. And the bad guy, I can't remember his name, but he wants Esperanza for himself, but accidentally kills her. So what he does is he, I think, like blows up their house, takes Elena to raise on his own, and imprisons Don Diego.
It's Don Rafael.
Don Rafael.
And he recognized, so there's this moment, and I don't know that I ever caught this before, but there's a moment when during the opening sequence when Zorro, Anthony Hopkins Zorro, I guess has him at sword point, and he says his name, and you see this, and it's Stuart Wilson who plays Don Rafael. So Stuart Wilson, who up until that point I just knew as the bad guy from Lethal Weapon 3.
No.
So, which he's fantastic as the bad guy in Lethal Weapon 3.
He's a good bad guy.
But that's beside the point. So he, so I feel like he recognizes him, and then that's why he ends up so in the house.
Right. So he imprisons Don Diego, and what we end up seeing when we get to our present day, when Alejandro is grown up and his brother's been killed, is that Don Diego manages to break out of prison finally and kind of wriggle his way back into the town. And he finds Alejandro because he recognizes the medallion that he's holding as he's mourning his brother in a drunken stupor. And what he ends up doing is he takes Alejandro in and trains him and teaches him kind of like the code of Zorro and whatever. And he becomes the new Zorro. So Zorro, the next generation, whatever you want to call it. And of course, they find Don Rafael and Elena, who has herself become quite the swordswoman, and political corruption, so on and so forth. And Antonio Banderas is great. I mean, we're talking peak Banderas here. He is totally awesome as Zorro.
This was a case of the right movie for the right actor at the right time.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I feel like there's so many times where it's like, I wish this actor or this actress was 10 years, or I wish this movie could have been made then. Like, there's a lot of times when we're thinking about these movies that I was like, I would love to do a remake of this, but only if it was back in 1989. Yeah. And you could cast like Michael Keaton. I don't.
Yeah.
Speaking of Batman.
Yeah. Now, I mean, even though I think that Catherine Zeta-Jones was great, there's always just part of me that really wants it to be Salma Hayek and for it to be a Desperado, just like team getting together again, that kind of thing. Because Desperado.
That's a good question. Why did I wonder why?
Although I'm sure she was considered. I'm sure.
Although there's something about Salma Hayek that I have a hard time seeing her in that role.
I don't know. I mean, but that was Salma Hayek, such a great duo, the two of them. I mean, I watched Desperado. Yeah. I watched Desperado the other night because I was like, I just watched the two Zorros with him in it, and I was like, yeah, but he's also so good as El Mariachi, and it's like, that movie's incredible. Like, I love every second of it.
Desperado.
Desperado.
Or El Mariachi. Yeah.
Well, El Mariachi,
Desperado,
but that's
yeah.
who he is.
Well, that's yeah. No, I haven't seen Desperado in such a long time, but it's so good. It's fabulous. It's got an amazing soundtrack too.
It's got an amazing soundtrack.
A lot of Los Lobos. A lot of Los Lobos. Is there Gypsy Kings on that soundtrack? I don't know about Gypsy Kings. Because Gypsy Kings actually are provided the music for the Zorro musical.
Oh, did they? That's funny.
Yeah. So, which is interesting. I'm sorry. It's all really interesting because the character of Zorro, and just thinking of kind of the, culturally appropriate, casting and things like that. Zorro was created by like an old white dude who was like apparently kind of an asshole. Yeah.
Oh, totally. I mean, I think that, be that as it may, I think that it's great that the character of Zorro exists because it does create a pathway for representation in the superhero world, really, like early superhero world. And even though it wasn't the case in 1919, it was, the intent wasn't for it to be played by a Spaniard or for Mexicans to be, playing Mexicans, but it created a pathway for that to eventually happen. And, the characters themselves, it's showing positive. I don't know. I'd be curious to talk to somebody who maybe is Mexican, South American, or even Spanish to know what they think about the character of Zorro growing up, if it was something that impacted them at all. So I want to talk about the legend of Zorro, and I know that you have your gripes. First, I'll just kind of spit out a little bit of what I can remember of the plot, because this one's kind of weird. This is several years after the Mask of Zorro. I was going to say Don Diego, but Alejandro and Elena have been married and have a son whose name escapes me. And he's a little whippersnapper. He does he does great. Crazy little flips in class and pisses off his teacher. It's wonderful. I really enjoyed that character.
He is the coolest kid in that class. He's like
all the older kids are like applauding him. Like he's so cool.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know that his dad is Zorro, but he looks up to Zorro and thinks that his dad is just a big fuddy-duddy. And Elena is kind of pseudo captured by these guys who force her to divorce Alejandro, which is convenient because they just had a big fight. And so she divorces him because she needs to marry this other dude who she knows from her past, or not marry him, but like get close to him to be able to extract evidence that he is trying to sabotage California getting signed into statehood.
Yes. Yeah. And he's French, but he's played by Rufus Sewell.
Everything is weird.
British actor.
Yeah. It's weird. So, and then meanwhile, Alejandro is just like, getting drunk and being a sloppy mess and everything and having to deal with his personal issues. Meanwhile, it seems like she is just like taking up this new lover and, just living the high life. And I don't know, there's really not much more to go into it except for the fact that like, the truth comes out and then the two of them kick ass side by side because little mini Zorro is cool. So Dan, what was your beef with this? Just that it was too much of a departure from a typical kind of Zorro situation?
Yeah, for the most part. I don't know that I've ever actually watched it entirely straight through. Like, I feel like I've tried watching it and either fallen asleep or just kind of gotten bored. And it's like, it's a real downer. I don't like seeing them split up like that. And it just feels a little contrived. So yeah. So it's, It has its moments. It certainly does.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. I didn't think it was a great movie or anything. I had
it's
fun watching it.
Nowhere near Mask of Zorro.
Mask of Zorro is great, except I really just felt so cringy anytime Anthony Hopkins was on the screen. I feel, for me, when Anthony Hopkins is good, he's really good, but otherwise, I have a hard time with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hey, he's pumped out some clearly great performances, and I'm happy for that. But like, I feel like, you know, his notoriety gets him through the door in places where he just doesn't belong. And The Mask of Zorro is one of them.
So I'm trying to, like, who would have been a better...
In the late 90s, it's really hard to say.
Because I was like trying to look for who else was considered for the role, and all I found was like Sean Connery, which
also would suck.
Highlander, like,
yeah, I don't know, it'd be kind of weird.
It doesn't work.
Highlander, where I believe he plays a Welshman, even though it's in Scotland and he's Scottish. I'm pretty sure that he plays a Welshman.
I'm pretty sure he plays a Spaniard in Highlander.
Oh, is he a Spaniard?
Yeah. I am
Wales and Spain. What does it matter, right? Anthony Hopkins and Catherine Zeta-Jones. So
yeah, So I'm trying to think of who you would cast, and like if it was 5 years earlier, I'm like, I think of Raul Julia in like the Addams Family. But
I want to say that I read somewhere, and it's probably been a while, so I could be wrong, but I believe he was up for the role, but
he died.
What year did he die?
I think like 96.
Maybe like he turned it down, and then he like, because he was sick or something like that. I don't know.
I think Street Fighter was his last movie.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the fact that he's dead is really sad.
Yeah.
Pour one out.
That
Raul
is
Julia.
what is sad.
Yeah, Raul Julia clearly would have been the best old Zorro.
But it's like, it's frustrating me right now that I can't think of others, and I know that I know that there will be a lot of names that will come to me. Yeah,
it's hard. It's tough. Yeah, and it's what makes it really tough is the sad truth that there, you know, if we're talking about the 90s, we're actually really talking about the 80s, because we're talking about people who are older, who would have probably been more in their prime in the 80s, who are kind of coming back and doing like a cameo type thing, or like a, you know, a smaller role as like old reliable, but there wasn't the representation at the time, unless it was like, I don't know, somebody in a gang, or, you know, it was very rare that there would be somebody who was you know, cast culturally in a respectable way.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
Very unfortunate. I mean, you know, nowadays, I mean, you know, he's neither Spanish nor Mexican. He's Cuban, but Andy Garcia.
And the aforementioned Andy Garcia. Right.
Would be like, I think he's still young enough where it's believable that he'd be like doing all the stuff in the beginning.
Yeah, I think that if it was now and it was going to be in an older one, an older Zorro, you have people like Javier Bardem, who would be the more of the appropriate age for something like that.
Or Antonio Banderas.
Antonio Banderas. You would have Antonio Banderas. Yeah. Which would be great. I don't remember the last thing I saw him in. It's pretty old now, but he was great in Ruby Sparks as kind of just like an eccentric guy living up in like Ojai or something like that. But I don't know what he's been in more recently.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the last thing I saw him in.
The last thing I saw him in was Desperado, which was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last thing I saw him in was like the last thing that I watched with him in it, I think it was like Spy Kids. Well, you know, before watching Zorro.
Right.
But yeah, I really can't I know he went back and was working with Almodovar.
Oh, the skin I'm in.
Oh, and Pain and Glory. Oh, he got an Oscar nomination for Pain and Glory, like last year?
Right. That one was kind of under the radar a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I see that HBO Max just added a whole bunch of Almodovar films.
Oh, really? Great.
Yeah. Oh, and he was in The Laundromat, which I have not seen.
It's not great.
Yeah, that's what I heard, so that's why I haven't seen it.
Speaking of The Laundromat, you're making me think of Meryl Streep, and I have to say, it was hard for me to edit the Death Becomes Her episode quickly because I kind of got sidetracked and had a little, I don't know, an itch I needed to scratch, and I kind of did a little bit of homework on a Meryl Streep question that I had, but I'm not going to tell you what it is in case I decide to bring it up on a more appropriate episode. But I certainly spent like an entire edit session where I should have been editing just doing this Meryl Streep research.
Like some Meryl Streep research. Oh, yeah. Wow. Fascinating.
Yeah. It was necessary. I'll bust it out next time we do a Meryl Streep movie.
She's done a few, so I'm sure the opportunity will arise.
Yeah. So
that Meryl Streep, she's done a few movies. She's no Fran McDormand, but 3-time Best Actress winner Frances McDormand, and my God, she's brilliant.
She really, really is.
Like, absolutely deserves that, and all the other ones that she was nominated for and didn't win.
Yeah. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Dan is going to be talking with Cesar Gracia, and I'm very, very excited to hear this conversation, and stay tuned.
Starfighters, I have got a treat for you. With me now is not only a very close personal friend, not only a former collaborator, a co-founder of the greatest sketch comedy group that you've never heard of, Cubicle, the winners of the 2005 The Funny. He is a currently Miami-based stand-up comic, but you might have seen him in New York or Los Angeles. In New York, he did his kind of one-man interactive show, the Al Pacino School of Acting, at Upright Citizens Brigade. By the way, still my favorite Al Pacino impression. And he's done that show at the Miami Improv, did another one-man show called Spanglish there. He has opened for Paul Rodriguez and co-starred with Paul Rodriguez in the film Chateau Vato that you can see on HBO Max. It is none other than Mr. Cesar Gracia. Cesar, welcome.
Oh, great. That's awesome. I forgot about the Pacino School of Acting.
Dude, you've done a lot, you've got a lot. I have fond memories of that one because I did a
15-minute version of that show here in Miami. This thing called Micro Theater, where they get these shipping containers. There's 6 shipping containers, and each one has a different show in it. And you pay $5. It's pretty cool. It was originated in Spain, and they have it in Miami. And I shoved the Pacino School of Acting in there. It was a lot of fun.
That's perfect. What were you like? We're in a fucking shipping container. Anyway, I'm gonna try not to go back into any old reminiscing because we're here to talk about Zorro, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
which is a bit of a fandom of mine too. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we could start, I would love to hear just kind of like your earliest kind of memories, your first connection, who was your first Zorro? Who was the first to slash the Z into you?
Definitely Guy Williams. Still my favorite non-Latino Spanish accent. I mean, he was Italian, but I think he was killed it. He was the best. He was growing up. Yes, I was from Disney from the 50s, but when I was growing up, that was still on TV. It was very popular. Him and the Lone Ranger. So it was like 2 masked guys were kind of popular, but Zorro I loved. My brother was Zorro for Halloween once. I was Zorro for Halloween. Always been a big fan of it. And then I found out later on it's what inspired Batman. So he's kind of like the pre-Batman.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He's not kind of like, he is the pre-Bat. I mean, he has a cave. Yeah. He's this like, rich, I mean, I know like some versions he's married, some versions he's just like this rich playboy. And he's very Bruce Wayne. He has a cave. He's got his, in some versions, he's got like his faithful manservant.
Right.
Ooh. Have you ever seen the 1975 movie Zorro? It was a French Italian.
No, I remember there's one with Frank Langella. There's one with Frank Langella in the 70s. It was a made-for-TV, the Mark of Zorro. It's basically like from the original one with Frank without a mustache. And that was a pretty rough one to watch.
Wait, Adam West was in it?
No, Frank Langella. I'm messing up his name.
Frank Langella, yeah, Skeletor.
Oh, he's Skeletor? I didn't know he was Skeletor.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Frank Langella and
I mean, among others,
he did Dracula in the 70s too, but he did a Mark of Zorro.
Right.
So
yeah.
That one. I never saw the French one.
Okay, you got to check it out. Whenever you have a chance, it's currently streaming on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
So not to promote Amazon, but look, that's just where you can watch it. All right. So anyhow, so the Disney Zorro is kind of like your first. That was, and that's so for you. How does Guy Williams compare to Antonio Banderas?
Well, I have a love and hate with that movie. So Antonio Banderas is obviously, the first, because he's accurate. He's the first Spaniard to play him. In the sequel of his second chance at it, he does a part where he speaks Spanish and he speaks with his like Spain accent, with the tetas and all that. And it was kind of like fun to watch finally like Spanish Zorro. But with that, and the director of that movie is Campbell. I think it's
Martin Campbell.
Martin Campbell, which I love his all of his stuff. Casino Royale and GoldenEye, and then he killed it with Zorro. So he pretty much gets like my favorite things that I'm a fan of, and he does a really good job with it. So I love that movie. I love what he did with it. It was just annoyed me that it was just like all British, except for the one Spanish guy, and they make him Mexican. Like he said, even Don Diego. They're like, no, you're not Don Diego. You're a Mexican Zorro who gets trained by the British Zorro, Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah. Which, and I mean, geographically, he's Californian Zorro. So, and then he, at least they kept consistent casting with having Anthony Hopkins, a Welsh actor, and Catherine Zeta-Jones, also Welsh.
Welsh actor. They're consistent.
Playing, at least they're.
The thing with her, she killed it though, because I didn't know she was Welsh until after the movie. I didn't know she was Welsh. This dude phoned it in. He didn't even do it. He's just like straight up British Anthony Hopkins. I'm just like, I'm Don Diego de la Vega. I'm like, really? Not even like a hint of anything? Like nothing?
But that's all there was. He threw on a little seasoning, A
little seasoning.
Tiny bit. He was like, this is what I'm doing. It's not like I'm getting nominated for this. So
Banderas kills it, and Martin Campbell in that movie kills it too. I like the whole movie. So it was a fun ride.
Yeah.
Guy Williams, I don't know. I still like, I guess I call it a tie with him, Guy Williams. Douglas Fairbanks, only because of the Jackie Chan doing his own stunts type of thing.
Oh, so
because Douglas Fairbanks, he was kind of originated that chandelier swing, which they give him a lot of big homage to. A lot of like what they do in Banderas movies, a big homage to Douglas Fairbanks, because he was the first one to do Mark of Zorro. I think he's the first Zorro, isn't he?
Yeah. He was the first big screen Zorro in a silent film in 1920, which the first Zorro novel, the first story was published in 1919.
Right, so it was a year in. It was hot stuff.
Yeah, well, and then like 1925, he's back in Son of Zorro, where Douglas Fairbanks plays both Don Diego and Alejandro, who in that is his son.
Right.
So,
I didn't realize that he plays Alejandro, and that's what Banderas' character is.
Right. Well, and then the brother Joaquin in that is
Muriel.
Yeah, well, who supposedly that's the real life bandit that they supposedly base Zorro on.
Yeah. The Muriel. Muriel was the thing. Yeah.
So that's cool. So, what what we talk about on here is our ideas, and it's like what hasn't been done with Zorro.
With Zorro.
So it's like, what would you do? Would you keep Sergeant Garcia?
I was disappointed. I mean, I guess Anthony Hopkins took in place of the mute. I did love the mute. I did love Sergeant Garcia. I mean, it was comedic, but they didn't really put him in the new one, right? It wasn't. There's nothing like him there.
No, he's in the. They keep so he was like invented for the Disney series,
right? Yeah, he's a Disney character for sure.
And they keep him in for the 1975 one, the spaghetti western version of Zorro. Basically.
Did you know that the original Guy Williams movie, because my cousins saw it in Cuba and they go, "Oh, I saw the movie. I saw it in the theater." I'm like, that was a TV show. They got all the TV show and they cut it. They made a movie out of it. And that actually screened in like Latin America or whatever. And my cousin saw it in Cuba talk about the Guy Williams. I was like, the movie. I'm like, no, that dude's a TV thingy. And we had that argument forever. And he's like, no, this is what they did. they cut the whole thing together.
That's actually the only one that Disney Plus has right now.
Yeah, okay. That makes
movie.
Sense. Yeah.
It's the movie, but it's obviously the episodes stitched together.
Kind of wove together, yeah.
Yeah. They didn't really.
I love this theme song.
Yeah, it's kind of like he's helping somebody out every 23 minutes. He's helping out somebody new. So he's like, okay, your problem's solved, and now the next part of the movie is that I go and help this next person. And meanwhile,
did you know he kept doing that? He kept doing that after the show closed. After the show got canceled, it was off of Disney. Guy Williams continued playing Zorro in Latin America. He did he took Sergeant Garcia. They did plays at the theater, and they did appearances well into the 70s. Like there's like gray-haired Guy Williams playing Zorro in Latin America. He cashed in on that. He loved it. That's probably why he's so good at it. He actually enjoyed the character so much that he didn't mind doing the going around the Disney parade. Like he would actually, instead of getting a costume person, he'd actually get in costume and do Disneyland. He'd ride through Disneyland for the parade. He did that a handful of times. And once that was done, he went on tour.
He couldn't hang it. He couldn't stop. Holy shit. But so that's actually, that's a perfect segue, because you're telling me this story and I'm like, well, I want to see that movie. I want to see the movie about Guy Williams and Sergeant Garcia, after the Zorro gets canned, and they're kind of like the Three Amigos. It's the Three Amigos, because they're like, fuck it. We don't know what else to do. We're just going to go be the Three Amigos.
They think we're real down there. Yeah. Let's go to Santa Poco, get this guy a guapo, get paid, and come back.
Oh, wow. No, but seriously, it's like you're describing this and I'm like, forget a reboot. Like I want to see this movie.
Yes. Oh, who would you cast as an older Guy Williams? It's almost what's the Ben Affleck Superman one? Where he plays George Reeves.
Oh, Hollywoodland.
Yeah. It would be like a Hollywoodland, but for Zorro.
Well, it sounds actually, so have you ever seen Fitzcarraldo, the Werner Herzog movie? We did an episode on it a little while back. If I was going to try to describe the whole plot, I don't know, we'd get dizzy, but it's basically like this guy who wants to build an opera house in the middle of the Amazon, and he buys this old riverboat, and they sail down because they're going to access this hard to get to rubber, because it takes place around 1900. They haul a boat over a mountain, and it's they actually did this when they made the movie. They hauled the boat over.
Oh my God.
It's not a huge mountain, but I'm thinking about Guy Williams, it almost being this Fitzcarraldo, about this Guy Williams who's just he's kind of just obsessed and he can't hang it up. And
because I guess he was so well known, he was like, well, why should I stop? Or I guess he didn't have any work, he just made it happen. That was pretty. Who would you cast for that? Who would be new Guy Williams?
Because then it's you're not really casting Zorro, you're
casting Guy Williams.
Yeah,
doing Zorro.
So
who fits that look? Oh, I can almost think of someone.
I'm
drawing a blank. It's gonna take me a couple days before I can
well
get
because
that.
he would be a little bit older. So let's see, how old was Guy Williams?
Like Tom
when
Cruise
Zorro...
would probably be a fun one.
Oh wow!
Because he was considered for Zorro before they went with Banderas.
That would be
Cruise with a mustache and doing a Spanish accent.
You know, I'm looking at this guy's picture, and he was born in Washington Heights. So,
really?
Yeah.
Oh wow!
But yeah, he died in Buenos Aires, and
in Argentina.
Yeah, in 1989. So let's see, but he was born in 1924. When was Zorro canceled?
50s, late 50s, early 60s?
Like 61.
61, yeah.
So he's what, like 37, 38?
Yeah. Yeah, he looks just like Tom Cruise. Who's 50 but looks 37.
Parts of Tom Cruise are 30 or in their 30s. What? I love Tom Cruise. He's awesome. So you would kind of need the older, like, man, it's so funny to think of, like, all right, so who are you gonna, like, James Franco?
Yeah, but because he has the square face. I don't know, maybe.
He's also.
Oh no, I know, I got it. The guy, he's a French guy. The guy from The Artist.
Oh, the guy from The Artist? Oh man. Oh, what's his name? And would he be too old?
Well, the thing is after the show is canceled, and you could take up.
I guess, yeah.
You could make it in the late 60s or early 70s.
Yeah, that's true. Jean Dujardin.
That's it. That's the guy.
Yeah, but he's not like. Then he would be playing in. Come on, let's cast American actors as American actors playing Spanish characters. I mean, authenticity. Damn it, give me Franco.
Give me Franco. But who else does a good? Yeah, I don't know. What I would love to see with that franchise, I guess, I don't know, it's not a franchise, or with that property, like you were saying. What hasn't happened? They've done it with James Bond. They did it with Batman. Give me the origin story, because this guy kicks ass. But how? You know what I mean? Like, because I know Batman went to Kung Fu school with Ra's al Ghul. That's what Batman Begins gave me. James Bond was rough around the edges in Casino Royale. Let's go back to Spain and figure out who these guys were. Like, there's a comic book that kind of tries to go into it. I haven't read it much, but there's a comic book that I remember, like, being in Gotham comic book store, just like, and seeing like a Zorro comic book, and it was a bunch of guys, and it was like going back to Spain. So that would be a cool thing to explore, and like ending with him leaving to the New World or going to California or whatever.
Right, because I think the story is that he goes to Spain to study. He goes to university in Spain, and
then just comes back a badass.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, he comes back a badass. All right. So now you're casting a, like, I mean, can you even think? Oh, what about Steve Carell? Sorry, back to the Guy Williams thing.
Oh yes, I would go with that. Yeah, I could see that. I see Steve Carell. Yeah.
But like Steve Carell is an older Guy Williams, maybe. Anyway, so who would you cast as like a early 20s?
Early 20s. I mean, I would have to cast. Yeah, get a Spanish kid, but I have to go through like a list, and the ones I'm thinking of are probably already a little too old already.
Right. Yeah.
Like Garcia Bernal or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right. Diego Luna. Yeah.
Diego Luna would actually be kind of fun. Diego Luna.
But again, for this idea,
the Star Wars guy, the other Spanish guy from Star Wars, the new Han Solo in a sense,
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah,
not the actual, not the guy who played the young Han Solo.
I know we're on Zorro, but let me sidetrack because I know you'd like this. So I watched Solo, right?
Yeah,
and this guy did a good job, but I liked him. But I'm gonna tell you this now. He doesn't. He plays Solo. He does a good job. I'm not taking anything, but he reminds me not of Harrison Ford. He reminds me of Dennis Quaid, who would have been a good Han Solo.
Yeah. Well, he kind of does a Han Solo thing in Inner Space.
He kind of does, yeah.
He kind of does, yeah.
Which is an underrated movie.
Oh, love Inner Space. Yeah. So we have an Inner Space episode in the archives. So
Okay.
but that actor is
You
Alden
can
Ehrenreich.
reboot it.
Yeah.
You can reboot Inner Space as a Pfizer.
Does it take 2 jabs to get Martin Short into you? It would have to be Johnson and Johnson, and then, or no, sorry, not Martin Short, to inject Dennis Quaid into you, not Martin Short.
Dennis Quaid is the chip. So, who? Yeah, I mean, like off the top of my head, yeah, Diego Luna or the Pedro guy though from the Star Wars franchise.
But for this college idea, I think, getting someone younger, like finding someone new, like let's make a new star, because you're selling it as the Zorro origin story. Yeah. So you're not really selling it on, and have Antonio Banderas in the beginning as like, I remember when I'm not going to do an accent.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
He speaks very breathy. He's very breathy.
You can do it. You can get away with it. I can't. But you could have him, do a little flashback, so that way you get a shot of him for the trailer. You put him into the trailer. So
and then you could kind of lead in, because the Mask of Zorro is like post everything. You see him as like Anthony Hopkins in the last Raw, and it hands it off.
That's why it couldn't be. Oh, it couldn't be. So it couldn't be Antonio Banderas.
Yeah. So it'd have to be like because Hopkins plays Don Diego. I want to see Don Diego, young Don Diego, going to Spain and becoming the badass that he is. And he kind of, the reference, like, everyone has worn this mask. It's like a passed down thing. So who knows? There could be a cool little mentorship. That's what you would stick Javier Bardem. Make him like the older mentor.
Oh, yes. Check.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's when you throw him in there. And then like start with that guy and do a Batman Begins Dark Knight, like basically give me that, and then end with him going to California, and then give me Don Diego, then give me the Mark of Zorro, like a complete remake of the for what Douglas Fairbanks did.
So you kind of want to Rogue One. You kind of want to Rogue One it.
I want to Rogue One it, and then lead into it. Yeah.
You want to lead right up to it. Yeah. So which, I mean, I Rogue One is my favorite non like trilogy.
Episode one.
It's my favorite. Yeah. It's Rogue One is probably my favorite outside of the original trilogy. So,
yeah.
But yeah, so that is, I would definitely go see that.
Right? That'd be that's what I want to see. Yeah.
I would definitely.
I like what they do with the Mask of Zorro, but yeah, definitely do it like an origin. Yeah, make it a 2-parter.
And have it be, it's Diego back. So would you cast a Welsh actor?
Would I cast a Welsh actor? I would have to, somewhere it would have to be there.
Yeah, no continuity.
Like one from every nationality that's played Zorro. So we need a French guy in there. We need an Italian guy in there. We need a British guy in there.
What is this? It's the multiverse? Is this like the is it Spider-Man? It's the Zorroverse. Does he like travel to the different timelines, and there's like a hologram Douglas Fairbanks? They just cut Douglas Fairbanks into it.
But then you need George Hamilton.
Yep. Zorro the Gay Blade. Yeah. Which, have you ever seen that one?
That was in my childhood. It was on cable, so I have like bits and pieces. I don't think I've seen it as an adult. But as a child, I saw it in bits and pieces. And I do remember at the end, he has his own like fabulous Zorros, and they're both together. The Zorro and the Gay Blade are together. And he's got like a bedazzled, like very like Liberace Zorro outfit, where he like finally comes out of the closet as Zorro, whatever.
Okay.
So,
fabulous.
Yeah. You ever seen it?
I've never seen it. No, but now I want to see it more than ever. I think
it's basically like they're twins, where he's a gay twin of Diego. And he's in California, and I think the real Zorro, Diego, has to like leave somewhere, and then he leaves him the suit. So now his gay twin is gonna like take over a little bit for a hot second, and I guess there's a lot of like comedy and gags with that. And at the end, he just like comes out fabulous. His brother joins in, so there's basically like split screen of George Hamilton in the regular black, and then in this like this white like Liberace's. If Liberace was Zorro, basically what they kind of did at the end there. And they have that battle scene.
Okay, so yeah, probably something that wouldn't get remade today.
No, not at all. No. Unless you have
not.
Nathan Lane. Unless it's Nathan Lane, then fine.
Nathan Lane is Zorro.
Zorro the Gay Blade with Nathan Lane. Yes.
Wow. I mean, okay. Why not? Well,
Yeah.
listen, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for making the time. And and just wanted to give you a chance to, plug your shit. Like, where can we see you do your stuff? I know, you're in Miami where COVID has apparently been defeated. So
It was shoved in a closet. It's still alive. It's been muzzled.
Along with the gay blade.
With the Gay Blade. Cesar G at Cesar G Comedy is my Instagram. That's where I'll be posting my little little blogs, clips of my shows and stuff like that. But the comedy scene in Miami is actually really taking off right now. So even Joe Rogan was mentioning it. So this one guy named Marion Garavito basically started like a few years ago, and now there's comedy like 7 nights a week here in Miami. It's pretty. A bunch of people been coming down, so it's pretty hot right here right now. So at Cesar G Comedy. That took forever. I just want to say Cesar G Comedy. Instagram, follow me, and I'll be putting stuff up there.
Well, and do you have anything? Coming up? Any shows coming up?
Right now, so the Spanglish show is a friend of mine who's producing it. We did it twice at the Improv. Right now, we're trying to find another venue for it, and I'm pretty much just kind of, since I'm in the daddy life right now, I'm just kind of creating my new set. I did my 20 minutes. I opened up for Paul like in 2019, did my 20 minutes. And then now it's just kind of like, that's so irrelevant now. That's pre-pandemic. So basically I'm just kind of starting from scratch, and I got some stuff and I'm just basically building it up now. So you'll see me around Miami in little places, but I'll post the good stuff every now and then on Instagram or YouTube. Got
it. Well, I can personally vouch for like, I laugh thinking about some of the bits that I remember, and I haven't even seen you perform in quite some time. So, but it's been great. It's been great having you on. Look forward to having you back sometime.
Definitely,
thank you very much.
All
Cesar Gracia. Thank you.
Oh, and Rocky IV Director's Cut. Rocky IV Director's Cut coming soon.
Oh, and
did you know that?
Well, I heard that he was tinkering with it. I heard
he took out the robot. And I agree.
No, I wrote I wrote a whole piece on it. It's on my blog.
Nah. See, Stallone, when he sits and writes, he goes like, "What does Cesar want to see?" And then he just kind of does what I want to see. And he's like, I don't think Cesar likes a robot. I'm like, and he's right. He didn't. He was. I trust Stallone with it. I trust him.
I am pro robot.
We'll revisit this.
Yeah, we'll revisit. But and belated happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, I missed it last week. I'm a dick. So happy birthday. Great having you on.
All right, man.
Good journey.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Dan, that was so cool. I'm so glad that you can make that happen.
It was so awesome getting to chat with Cesar. He is hilarious and just one of my favorite, people. Like, I wish we could, still get to work together and chat as much as we used to. So thanks again, Cesar.
Yeah, and we'll have to have him on when we do an episode with an Al Pacino movie.
It would be like having Al Pacino there. Also does an amazing Michael Keaton.
Oh, are there any with the two of them?
Pacino and Keaton? I don't think so.
Yeah, let's make it happen.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Put that on the bucket list.
Oh, boy. All right, so let's talk about what we would do with Zorro now.
Well, and I wanted to point out, like, there are almost constantly talks of different Zorro projects in the works.
Uh-huh.
And one of them that I found fascinating
is this from IMDb trivia?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. This is just what happens when you. So I was on the library app Hoopla, and did a search for Zorro, but I didn't search specifically for films. So what came up first was a graphic novel entitled Django Zorro.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah.
So, and I know that there's been some talk about it. Gerard Carmichael is writing a script. Gerard, yeah. And I know it's supposedly an older Django taking a younger Zorro under his wing. I think that's how it works out.
Okay.
So, I'm not sure if it's the other way around.
I think that timing wise, I mean, it could be whatever Gerard Carmichael wants it to be.
That would make more sense if it was an older Zorro.
Yeah, that's what I would think. But
yeah,
Gerard Carmichael will do what Gerard Carmichael does.
Yeah. Anyway, or I would at least maybe they're the same age. Whatever. So I thought that was interesting. I think it's more, for me personally, it's more interesting as the graphic novel.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a hard time seeing.
It sounds like fan fiction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I know that there was an article on a.
And by the way,
Zorro.
speaking of Django fan fiction, whenever you have time, I want to read to you my story, Django and Cash.
Are you serious?
No, I'm not serious.
Oh God, I'm sorry. I'm a little disappointed, but
what if I had written something called Django and Cash? That would be terrible.
I would applaud you. So let's see. It says, and this is from in December. It says NBC is, and I'm reading this from the website is thehindu.com.
Okay.
I assume this is, so it says NBC is developing a new Zorro project with a star-studded creative team comprising of brother-sister filmmakers Robert and Rebecca Rodriguez, Sofia Vergara from Latin We Entertainment, Ben Silverman and Howard T. Owens Propagate. CBS has been roped in to co-produce with Universal TV, according to Deadline. Now, it says that the plot will follow Sola Dominguez, an underground artist who invites trouble as she exposes criminal organizations in her fight for social justice. Mythical masked vigilante Zorro is to be played by a female lead in this contemporary take on the classic. Okay. So, and just to be clear, Sofia Vergara is, there's nothing in here that suggests that she will be the one playing Zorro. Now, Robert Rodriguez was originally going to direct The Mask of Zorro.
Yeah, so something that I saw in the IMDb trivia for, I think, The Legend of Zorro, said a second sequel was dropped due to this movie not making enough money. However, Robert Rodriguez approached Sony with an idea that the Zorro reboot should be set in a post-apocalyptic future, but Sony executives wanted the Zorro reboot to be gritty and in the style of The Dark Knight, showing how Don Diego de la Vega became Zorro, which we see in The Mask of Zorro, but whatever. No. That's Alejandro becoming Zorro. That's right. Yeah. Batman was heavily influenced by Zorro. The reboot was rumored to be titled Zorro Reborn.
And you know what that sounds like to me? Does not sound like it would have all the ingredients of a good Zorro movie.
There wouldn't be any antics on a horse.
And you know what? Why can't there be? And yes, Dark Knight is awesome. It's awesome. There are some other awesome. There are some. You can. That's the great thing about Dark Knight.
I watched it the other day as I was recovering from my second Pfizer shot hangover.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. So it's great, but it doesn't work for everything. I wouldn't want to see a gritty Dark Knight style Rocketeer.
Yeah.
The Rocketeer should be fun.
Yeah.
So, and Zorro should be fun. The Mask of Zorro, Martin Campbell, master of revitalizing franchises.
Yeah, James Bond. He did
James Bond twice.
Casino Royale. Mm-hmm.
And GoldenEye.
That's right.
And he did The Mask of Zorro. And I know Martin Campbell has made a lot of other movies, but
no schlub.
he nailed it. Like, I feel like he really nailed the tone. And there's a pace to it. It's fast moving. It's fun. And even when it's at its most, even when, the hero is in peril, you're still enjoying yourself. It's not tense. And you leave like happy. You leave, wanting to, pick up a rapier, and spar. So
the entire time I was watching those, I was like, I'm having a great time over here.
Now, of course, one of my reboot ideas, sadly, also does not have it's not really a reboot. And this actually it had occurred to me maybe about an hour before we started recording. I didn't even write this down. So I've been thinking about the immigration situation and the like migrant camps and the kids at the border. I was thinking about, I mean, this is from the guy who just said Zorro should be fun. This is fucking grim.
Yeah. You sure you want to go forward with this?
Well, no, but I was thinking, here's what I was kind of thinking about, in almost like it's not a Zorro movie, but it's a movie that uses Zorro and kind of like combining elements of life is beautiful, the element of an adult trying to make an awful circumstance, just to kind of shield the kid from that because he knows what's going to happen. And kind of like a Pan's Labyrinth, where a child who's gone through serious trauma and who's also under pretty terrible circumstances is using imagination to escape. So I was thinking about, well, what if in a whether it's in a migrant camp or even in like one of these quote unquote detention centers where you have a small, like you have a young kid who's there like alone with nobody and is just like just witnessing the worst of humanity, and his escape and his like vengeance against all of these like the guards who treat them like animals and all this. And let's say he's there because you've got kids in there of all ages, but let's say there's a kid in there who's like 16, 17, and this little boy sees him as Zorro. Mm-hmm. and imagines, and this is how he copes, is by he kind of like puts and he develops like I would think they should have like a relationship, but this little boy just kind of like when he needs to escape, when things are really bad, he goes into that world where this older kid becomes Zorro. And it's more of Zorro as a device. That's not my only idea, but it was something that had just occurred to me earlier that I thought, well, that would be an interesting, because like as we've seen, it's like the Zorro formula has been done and done and done. I think that's what Legend of Zorro was trying to do, was not do the same thing.
Right.
So I was just thinking, it's not a reboot, but I feel like it's using the myth of Zorro and the meaning of Zorro to, I mean, as a coping mechanism. So yeah, I don't know. Another thought that I had was placing it in like modern day Mexico City, and Zorro is a luchador, but then I was like, well, he's already masked, so
Yeah.
what's the deal? So the only other thing I could really think to say is like just do Zorro in the most traditional manner, except cast the right people. Don't know Welsh cast members unless the character is Welsh. Cast Spanish actors, cast Mexican actors, cast the appropriate people, but just like and fuck it, get Martin Campbell back. Like,
yeah, sure.
He did Bond. Like, what was the time span between Bonds? This is a much longer span between Zorros. So yes, there we go. So John, what do you have?
Okay. So mine, I was actually thinking that it would take place in San Francisco. We're talking, or some Bay Area, situation. Because especially in Mask of Zorro, that takes place in sort of that area, and it's present day, and we have a character played by I don't know, maybe like Oscar Isaac or something, or like I don't know, there's so many other great ones. Diego Luna would be a good one.
Pedro Pascal.
No, not for what I'm thinking.
No, all right, go for it.
So
Oscar Isaac was the first name that came to my mind too.
Oh, of course. I mean, I was thinking of starting this episode being like, this is the podcast where we talk about how Oscar Isaac can be fit into the Zorroverse. But anyway, so what I was thinking is like, just a regular guy who happens to take like an ancestry DNA test and finds out that in the DNA lineage, there are some names that seem like vaguely familiar and weird, and Don Diego de la Vega is in the ancestry, and it's kind of like, isn't that the name of like Zorro and all this other stuff? And kind of it takes place in a world where yes, there are all these like movies and TV shows about Zorro, but there's always maybe been the thought of like, what if like I heard that Zorro is actually real, but like actually a person that they based all this stuff on. So like Robin Hood. So he's an author or something, and he decides to like chronicle his experiences like connecting with his ancestry, and learns how to do crazy tricks on like ride horses in weird ways, like to fence and stuff like that. And then of course there's some sort of like vigilante shenanigans he ends up getting himself into. I thought that it would be fun.
I love it. I'm trying to. I love it. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of like what the name would be. Like what would you? The reincarnation of Zorro. The rebirth of Zorro.
Yeah, I don't know.
Zorro Reborn.
Wasn't that the one, the Robert Rodriguez one? Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if Zack Snyder has any like Zorro. I wonder if he has any like Zorro. He would take like. There are certain things his style works actually does work well for.
If you wanted to talk, comic book stuff, I believe that Marvel released Zorro comic books. And one other thing that I wanted to mention, maybe this would trigger some type of idea, but there actually is a woman in the Zorroverse, I believe mostly in the comics, named Lady Rawhide, who at one point assisted Zorro, but after there was something going on with like her brother was killed because he was mistaken for Zorro, and then she was like anti-Zorro. So
kind of like a Catwoman.
It's It's Lady Rawhide, and I don't know, just super weird.
Oh yeah. So Lady Rawhide, and this was 1999 was
Yeah.
when she So Anita Santiago was driven to create her own costumed identity to seek revenge against the Comandante of Los Angeles, Captain Enrique Monasterio, who inflicted terrible injuries on her brother Roman Santiago.
Yeah, so there's plenty of opportunities to, expand the Zorroverse into film. And I don't know, there's a lot of good stuff there.
Looking at the picture, no. I'm like, there's Salma Hayek, but...
Salma Hayek 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it looks more like Christina
Armas,
Hendricks.
Yeah.
Oh, Ana de Armas, yes.
See,
fantastic.
Ana de Armas, I would definitely put somehow in the Zorro reboot that I would envision.
I mean, the best thing about something like this is I feel like, you need some stars in the cast, but something like Zorro gives you the opportunity to find new talent and to...
Yeah. So I feel like vibe-wise, the direction I'm really thinking, definitely more like kind of the Spider-Man movies of recent, or like there was the Venom movie that was weird, but like it had like
I enjoyed it.
It was fun. It was fun.
I like Tom Hardy. I think
Tom Hardy's great.
Yeah.
I think that it's a really funny character, and he played it in just the right way. So I could see something being like that, where it's like an accidental superhero. Like, I don't know, not superhero, maybe not is the right word, but like,
an accidental vigilante, not really an outlaw, more of a vigilante. Yeah. So yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
that would be a lot of fun. Yeah,
totally.
And I think it allows you to. I imagine this would take place modern day. They're doing like a Ancestry.com or whatever.
Yeah,
and but it still allows you to have all of the traits. The DNA, if you will, of the Zorro franchise.
Yeah, like maybe he's just like, I'm just going to go horseback riding. And then like the horse bucks or something and he ends up on it like backwards. And just like the DNA instincts kick in to like...
The horse throws him and he catches the branch of a tree and does like 3 flips around it and lands
the Hobie Doyle style?
Yes, exactly.
Oh my God. Why is that movie just like so part of our lives now? Anyway.
Because it's great.
So anyway, I think that it'd be really fun, to do something kind of zany. You don't really get a lot of that much anymore outside of the like superhero movies where there's like a goofiness to it. Everything is either so serious or just like, there's no action.
Oh, you know what other superhero movie kind of had that vibe? Shazam.
Shazam's fun. Yeah,
that was a fun one. Yeah.
It was fun. The whole like, I watched it on a plane, so my memory's kind of.
Oh, so did I.
Were we going from the same place? Maybe.
Oh, probably.
I think that it was like a Hawaii trip or something. Anyway,
I think you're right about that. Yeah.
So, going into like the other dimension or whatever it is that he goes, like that's the stuff where I was just like, come back to Earth,
right?
And speaking of which,
that was the most fun.
Why don't you tell everyone what we're doing on our next episode?
Oh, speaking of coming to Earth, we are going to drop in, that is to Gina Davis's pool, with our spaceship in Earth Girls Are Easy, co-starring Jeff Goldblum, Damon Wayans, Jim Carrey, and Julie Brown. Singing her hit song "'Cause I'm a Blonde." Michael McKean is in Earth Girls Are Easy.
Michael McKean shows up all the time. It's great.
Directed by Julian Temple. It is a cult classic. It is a favorite of mine, and I'm excited.
I haven't watched it in such a long time. I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
All right, Dan. Well, as you are riding off on your crazy horse, by the way,
Neil Young.
by the way, when we were watching Mask of Zorro, Laura and I were like, Laura like saw the horse who was like this charismatic, like totally like I don't give a fuck horse, and she's like, that horse is being such a bitch. Like she was just like being hilarious about this horse. Anyway, as you're riding off on this like crazy bitch of a horse, I wish you a good journey.
Good journey.
Yes, the being played